For 6 months now, I have been putting out this message कि एक बड़ा डाउनटर्न आ रहा है. This is well before the stocks actually started correcting. But what led me to this conclusion? Today, let's find out. अब इसे समझने के लिए हमें सबसे पहले मार्केट्स को थोड़ी डिफरेंटली देखना पड़ेगा. I want to take a bird's eye view of the market. एक साल 2 साल पे नहीं, एक सेक्टर या 2 सेक्टर्स पे नहीं, बट ओवरऑल हाउ डज दिस मार्केट रियली मूव. अगर हम निफ्टी को ओवर द लास्ट 30 इयर्स देखते हैं, डाउ जोन्स को ओवर द लास्ट 60 इयर्स देखते हैं, तो वील नोटिस कि एक ट्रेंड बनता है जब सारे सेक्टर्स विद इन अ स्पेस ऑफ 2 to 3 इयर्स साथ में अप मूव करते हैं एंड देन ऑल ऑफ देम क्रैश डाउन फॉर द नेक्स्ट कपल ऑफ इयर्स टुगेदर. नाउ सम सेक्टर्स विल मूव फर्स्ट एंड सम सेक्टर्स विल मूव लेटर. वो टाइमिंग होती है विच इज अ डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट. What I'm talking about is पूरा market within छोटे gaps साथ में move करता है. That tells me that there is a common trigger in this market. And अगर हम उस trigger को समझ सकते हैं तो हम इस पूरे market को decode कर सकते हैं. And that common trigger is liquidity. And ये liquidity ही है जो हमें बताएगी when is this bear market going to end. सी जब मार्केट में बहुत ज़्यादा कैश होता है, पूरी इकोनॉमी में बहुत ज़्यादा कैश होता है, फिर वो रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स के पास हो, HNIs के पास हो या कॉर्पोरेशंस के पास हो, दैट कैश इवेंचुअली फाइंड्स इट्स वे इनटू एसेट्स लाइक स्टॉक्स. एंड दैट इज व्हाई स्टॉक मार्केट अलॉन्ग विद गोल्ड, बॉन्ड्स, एवरीथिंग गेट्स ओवरवैल्यूड. बट जब यही लिक्विडिटी सिस्टम से निकल जाती है तो ये एसेट्स क्रैश करते हैं. So to understand इस साइकिल में ये क्रैश कब बंद होगा, we first have to understand इस साइकिल की शुरुआत कैसे एंड क्यों हुई थी. So let's go back to 2020. Why did the markets bottom out and इतना sharp rise markets में क्यों आया था? जब markets ने अपना bottom बनाया उस वक्त तो the economy was doing very poorly. The Indian economy was in fact contracting. हम लॉकडाउन में थे. There wasn't much happening. There was no hope for the economy to recover that fast. Still, the markets rose क्योंकि central banks ने liquidity inject की थी system में and then everyone could see where asset values were going. So everyone rushed in to buy. And उस rush में the first asset to rise was gold. And it isn't just something that happened in 2020. हर recession की end में सबसे पहले gold ही बढ़ता है. The reason is quite simple. It's a safe asset. So the first place that investors feel confident going in without risk of losing money is gold. And वो ही हमारा पहला indicator होगा. If gold makes a new all-time high, a strong new all-time high, meaning इस level से about 5 to 7% ऊपर कम से कम, then we can say that that's a good, strong sign that the economy is coming back and that a bull market might start again. अभी तक वो नहीं हुआ है, but if that happens, I would be hopeful. More importantly though, एक macro indicator है that we can't really quantify, but it predicts the end of recessions very accurately. See, for this fall to end, sadly, retail wealth has to be wiped out. This is a sad, sad fact, but it is true. The average investor has to lose money for the market to finally start a bull run again. Now, all we have to do is be better than the average investor. And that is the game, right? This is a zero-sum game in the stock market. Someone has to lose for us to win. Now, you may rightly ask, why does the retail investor have to lose? That is because the central banks have to drive liquidity away from the masses and concentrate it in a few hands. अगर वो ऐसा नहीं करते हैं, then we get strong bouts of inflation. And वो हमने देखा भी था. We did see a prolonged bout of inflation, though India managed to do pretty well there. Now though, since most economies have that lingering effect of inflation, उसे weed out करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Now if you're wondering, ये जो थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा inflation है, हम उसे छोड़ क्यों नहीं सकते? Why is it that governments have to weed it out and why do they have to crush retail investors to do so? That's because एक बार history में US ने try किया था to leave that little bit of inflation and let the retail investors, let the small common middleman keep that wealth. And that was in the 70s, which was the worst recession that the US has seen within a short span of time. उस वक्त एक चीफ थे उनके फेडरल रिजर्व के कॉल्ड पॉल वोल्कर एंड उन्होंने रेट्स को, फेडरल रिजर्व के रेट्स को ओवरनाइट 20% कर दिया था. दैट ऑलमोस्ट किल्ड द यूएस इकोनॉमी, बट दे हैड टू डू इट, अदरवाइज इन्फ्लेशन वुड हैव किल्ड द यूएस इकोनॉमी. That is what we saw happen to Pakistan. That's happening to Turkey right now. Economies, large economies especially, do not recover from prolonged bouts of high inflation. सो ये ज़रूरी है कि इन्फ्लेशन को रूट्स से एलिमिनेट किया जाए एंड उसके लिए द मनी हैज़ टू मूव अवे फ्रॉम द masses to a concentrated set of hands that can use that money to create another cycle, which we will see happen in the next 6 months. Pehle, over the next 2 quarters, we will see a large part of retail wealth wiped out. I'm very sorry that I'm the one who has to tell you this, but ये historically accurate है. I did not share this entire idea with you first because मेरे लिए भी ये larger cycle का end पहली बार हो रहा है. And you must know that ये 2020 to 2025 का cycle end नहीं हो रहा. ये 2009 to 2025 का cycle end हो रहा है. COVID के period में this cycle had to happen, but it didn't because COVID disrupted it all. The governments had cut rates, had to bring in liquidity a little too quick ताकि लोग basically riot ना करें streets पे. Now that cycle is again coming to its head, and this time we have to deal with 2 cycles का pressure in one recession. That is not going to be pretty. Now, if you've been following me for 6 months or so, then I hope that you managed to cash out a little bit in advance. But if you haven't, and you're a long-term investor, you have nothing to worry. Because 3 साल में markets again all-time highs दे ही देंगे, and 3 साल is generous, it might happen in 1 year. So I'm not saying panic. I'm just saying understand ये हो क्यों रहा है. It's not like FIIs are our enemies. It's not like DIIs have an infinite amount of wealth. It's just that the DIIs have no option but to buy, and the FIIs know that this is the end of the cycle. Now, if we come to the smaller part of this cycle, there are ways to figure out कौन से sectors कब move करेंगे. In fact, there's a very common picture that goes around that tells कौन सा sector सबसे पहले move करता है bull markets में, and how in bear markets certain sectors tend to outperform. It's not foolproof though, I will make a separate video on that, but this is also something that changes from recession to recession, from cycle to cycle, but overall it does make a little bit of sense. I managed to make a decent amount of money using this. So I hope that you manage to understand abhi markets mein ho kya raha hai, and more importantly, this is not going to change. There is nothing that our FM can do in the budget to change this. Even if she tries to bring in a large capex expenditure, she simply does not have the liquidity to do that. The reason we're increasing taxes, the reason that SEBI has been so strict with futures and options ka trading is because they all saw this coming. This isn't something that only I have managed to predict. This is just something that most people find very difficult to understand. And remember, this is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying कि ये जानबूझ के होता है. I'm not saying that people are trying to get the middle class broke. That's not what's happening. It's just that ये system build ही ऐसी तरीके से हुआ हुआ है that ये एक error है इसमें. At the end of the cycle, we have to weed out wealth among masses. We have to concentrate wealth among a few to manage to keep the economy going ahead. Nobody does this intentionally, but nobody has an option either. I hope this video helped. For more controversial, but at sometimes pretty happy videos, do subscribe. And if you think this made sense, please like the video. If you think this was nonsense, if you disagree with it, drop a comment. Tell me what you think. And I'll see if I can justify it from my sense. And if I can't, then I'll just learn something. I'll see you next time.